The Topeka City Council meeting will come to order. Please rise as you are able for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will have a moment of silence, and we ask that you think in terms of the city of Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are no proclamations. We have presentations if the interim city manager would introduce.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you know, we began doing these quarterly presentations several years ago and have continued to enhance and add to those. So at this point, I'd like to ask our Administrative and Financial Services Director, Nikki Lee, to give her second quarter overview of finances.
Okay.
Good evening. This will be a pretty brief overview. We want to leave plenty of time for you all to hear an update on the project side of things. And also, of course, there's a full report to you all over 50 pages that was sent out and also posted on the website. So any further information that anybody would like, we can get to you anytime. Also, the third quarter report in October or November tends to be the one that we go take a deeper dive into things, because that's when we're really doing year-end projections and have a much better idea of where the year will end. So on the third quarter, we'll spend a little bit more time not only looking at what's happened, but also what might happen for the rest of the year. Perfect.
There.
Yep. Thanks, Molly. That should be the one. Okay. First slide, one reminder is that these views, most of these views are all funds combined. So when we look at revenues, this is citywide, not just general fund, but all of the utility funds, everything. And as you can see, we have received over $57 million through June of 2017, and our major revenues are up 5% over 2016, so that's a good indicator. A few revenue highlights, and again, you can see this in front of you, or we have more information online. The property tax is up 3% over 2016. Sales tax is up 8%, and franchise fees are up 2%. So these are our three major revenues that we really keep an eye on, and those are all very good indicators. On the expenditure side, we are up 6% year to date over last year. One reminder is that when you're looking at the first portion of the year, a lot of times you have early in the year payments, which you'll see in a minute on the contractual side, that you pay up front but don't have towards the end of the year. So we've seen that seasonality, same as we see every year. So a few of the different highlighted areas. Personnel is a major one that we watch, and that is up 4% year to date. That was budgeted for. We did expect to see an uptick on the personnel side, and of course this is pay and benefits combined. So that was, it's under budget, but a little over last year, which we expect. Contractual is up 16%. Again, this is an area that we anticipated in the budget, and this is really a catch-all. So while it seems like a large number over 2016, it is a number that we expected, and there's a few major reasons in that category that we would see an increase. Commodities are down 13%, and capital outlay is up 9%. And a lot of those in those categories is due simply to timing. We have not a lot of purchases, but when the ones that we have in these categories are pretty large, so it really kind of tends to be when you're charging, depends on the time of the year. And just a reminder here, the general fund balance where we ended last year, you can see that we are well above our target, and we would be expecting to be tracking to meet all of our minimum fund balances as established by policy this year. But again, we'll do these projections after the next quarterly report and get into more details on each of the funds. And then a few of the highlights from each of the utility funds. Water fee revenues are up 5% over last year, which of course is mostly due to the rate increase. That's about exactly the amount of the rate increase, so that's why we'd expect to see the revenue increase. And expenditures are down 1.9%. On the wastewater side, revenues are up 6% and expenses are up 3%, so that's well within budget and what we expected this year. On the stormwater side, there was not a rate increase, of course. Revenues are up 0.2%, so relatively steady, and expenditures are down 2.9%. And then, of course, just a reminder, there's additional information, the finance website, you can find the full report, and then a screenshot there of our open data sites. We also update all of our open data, some of it nightly, like the capital projects report, which you might hear in about a little bit more in a few minutes, some of it monthly, the open expenditure portal, and then the open performance portal we update on a quarterly basis, so if you haven't been there in a while, you can go out and see some of our updated performance numbers. And with that, I turn it over to for the capital project side of the report.
Are there any questions on the financial report? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the CIP report.
Good evening, governing body. I'll be giving the first part of this report and then be followed by Braxton Copley to give you an update on the utility side. And I wanted to focus on the street projects we have currently active within the city. You have before you a list of all the street projects that are currently under construction. I know you probably hear from a lot of your constituents about the number of cones and activity we have going on. This is 17 projects under construction. We also have the completion dates, scheduled contract completion dates for these projects listed to the side. We have a couple of the projects that are what we call two-season construction projects, just due to the extent and scope of it. It'll be constructed over 2 seasons. Southwest Wanamaker Road, Southwest 4th to 10th will carry over into 2018. And then the work there north of the zoo, Southwest 6th between Gage and Fairlawn. We've got the first phase under construction, basically between Gage and Westchester, and then the second phase would be next season. And the third project is the Southwest Central Park Neighborhood Streets Phase 1, so kind of the east half of that neighborhood's being done this year, and then the contractor will start up the second phase next year. So we've made a lot of progress this year. We've had a couple of ribbon cuttings on projects, some of the larger projects that have been completed. But you see these are 5 projects that have already been completed this year. And then in our normal process, we have 8 major street projects currently in design phase so that they'll be ready for construction in 2018. Then I want to spend a little bit of time on 3 specific projects and kind of reference the project portal that Nikki mentioned at the end of her presentation. So this is what constituents can go to, that project portal online, and see information on the project. So the first one we have is Southwest Topeka Boulevard, 7th Street to 11th, and to kind of walk you through what this portal provides. Up there you'll see a green and yellow status button, and that's what our project managers are actually updating to let us know at that kind of higher level is what's going on with the project. The first one is the budget, so budget's on track. Schedule, I provide an example that allows us to know that something needs attention, and in this case the project, we're moving into the last phase of Topeka Boulevard. Basically, we're going to be shifting traffic, and the original completion date was August 28th of this month. The project manager expects that to extend into September 20th, and so that's why that one's flagged as needs attention. And so that's a way that we can kind of keep track and manage this. If you go to that project portal page, you'll see there's 170 active projects listed on that project portal page in different phases. As we move down, you've got budget information, the department, category, a lot of kind of detailed information, and then a status bar along the bottom. And then we also have project photos when available. Next project I wanted to highlight was Southeast Fremont Street. If you haven't been out there, this project has been progressing very well. We've got a picture up there in the upper right corner where you can see the gradings. This took, and the kind of new alignment of the roadway. Basically, we're taking that old 2-lane road and widening it to a 3-lane road, all the way from 29th Street up to 31st. And we expect that to be completed on time. And then the last project I wanted to highlight, this is one that we're doing in partnership with Federal Home Loan Bank as a piece of that. It's also combined with our utilities work, and this is reconstruction of Wanamaker between 4th to 10th. So if you've been out in that area, you've seen kind of the traffic control and the phasing that we've been having going on. You know, it's difficult as we do a lot of these projects to keep traffic open and also get the road constructed, but we try to be flexible as we can in managing that traffic control. And then the last piece I wanted to give as part of my presentation, we're trying to give you an update of where we are on budget. So this is a table reflecting the 2017 CIP budget summary just for the street projects only. And as we've talked about before, street projects are funded from multiple sources, our GO bond, federal funds exchange, which we receive through KDOT, our citywide half-cent sales tax, and countywide half-cent sales tax. And when we gave you this presentation for the first quarter, we didn't have a lot of the commitments in place, but you can see if you look at the total, basically on the right hand of the slide, out of that $19.5 million budgets, we basically have about $1.3 million that's uncommitted at this time. And that primarily reflects the project Huntune from Marvonia I-470. Basically, we're in the design phase of that project, so the budget that's allocated for construction is not encumbered or committed at this point, and that's why it shows a balance of available. I think this is a good story for us to tell. You know, 2016, when we came to you here in July, we still had a number of projects that were just getting bid out, you know, Clay, Bell, and some others, and so it's a completely different story where we are today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Braxton for the utilities presentation.
Are there any questions on this? On this page you have here, this is January 1 to June 30. So it's the first 6 months, so that would be comparable to the second 6 months with these
Yes, I mean, what
figures.
the biggest change you'll see is the commitment, so that's money we anticipate paying on the contract will actually move into the expense category.
Okay.
But basically, the overall numbers will stay relatively
Okay,
the
very
same,
good.
except for
Okay,
those.
very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your report.
Good evening, governing body. Braxton Copley here to give you the update for the utilities on our second quarter. Good to see you again. Currently, we have 76 projects that are active in our Eclipse, which is our project management system, and those range from early stages of planning to the closeout. And we have about 42 of our projects that are either in construction or being executed. An example of a project being executed would be the study that we're having done on our water transmission system. You don't really have construction with consulting computer modeling. I'm just going to touch upon a few of our more exciting projects that are significant to the utility, and I'll try to stay a little closer to the microphone. Sorry about that. Our water projects under construction. Real exciting one, which shows the synergy that can happen when you have Public Works Department working hand in glove with utilities, is the Oakley project. This is a complete reconstruction of Oakley between 10th and 12th, and we're also using this as an opportunity to replace a 90-year-old transmission main. This is a 24-inch main. We actually had a break on it a couple of years ago that led to some pretty significant flooding. This pipe is at the end of its useful life. This is a perfect opportunity and is absolutely the best use of taxpayer and ratepayers' funds to take advantage of full-depth reconstruction of a road. And this is a photo of the Oakley project. Kind of hard to make out here, but that blue hose is actually filling that new 12-inch PVC water main, and this is anticipation for both the pressure and back T tests that must be performed and passed before we will accept the line into our system for maintenance. Jason indicated that we have now gone live on the portal. Every day it updates, I think at 4 a.m., pulling information from Lawson, the financial information on the projects, as well as the project information from our Eclipse. So this is very exciting. This is the portal page for that Oakley project that I showed you. You can see that currently it is on budget, on schedule, as Jason pointed out, the two little green icons at the top of the page. Just want to touch on one really exciting project from an asset management standpoint that we have in design, and this is at the water treatment plant. Black & Veatch has, as a consultant, has come out and they have actually identified and put into CityWorks, which is our asset management software system, all of the assets at the water treatment plant. It's huge having those in the system so we can put work orders against them. More importantly, they're also doing a condition assessment of each one of those assets, from valves to piping sections, that we can take into consideration when we're making decisions in terms of what needs to be replaced, what's getting close to the end of that useful life. Turning over to the stormwater utility. You may have heard Major General Spellman came on August 10th to do a levee inspection, and we met at the South Topeka levee unit. And I just want to focus on an exciting project we have currently under construction on the North Topeka levee unit, and that is a construction of 30 relief wells along with collector piping. Here's a picture of the project in construction. You can see that large relief well. You can see the collector piping. The plan is that in a high water event, as we're starting to get that hydraulic coming in and we're filling those wells, we can actually bring and put, we're going to have 3 trailer-mounted portable pumps that we can actually use, drop the intake in, pump that over the levee, get that back out of this area, back into the river. This is the project portal page for the North Topeka levee project. And again, you can see that we're doing great in terms of being on time and on budget on that project. Just want to touch on a awesome project from an engineering perspective, and that is the South Topeka flood wall modification. I want you guys to understand the enormity of this project. The flood wall, which is over by Hills, you guys see the large concrete wall. The Corps has decided that it needs some shoring. It needs to have that additional lateral support in case of a high water or flood event. So the plan is to come in every 10 feet and put a 35-foot deep concrete pier, 30 inches in diameter. 200 of these. Probably take 2.5 years to complete this project, but I won't say that it will take anything Mother Nature will throw at it, but pretty close to anything in terms of having that stability to hold back any of the floodwaters. On to our last utility, which is the wastewater, a project that we are just now getting to final completion on. Just doing the last punch list items and then getting that closed out and uploaded into our system are the variable frequency drives at the Wanamaker pump station. Variable frequency drive basically does 2 things. First is it allows for us to meter out the flow at the rate that we desire into our system so it can handle, so based on what our other pump stations are doing and the headworks, we can adjust the flow. The other thing that it does is it allows, instead of a hard on and a hard off in terms of 2 speeds on or off, it allows us to adjust that, which certainly reduces the wear and tear on the piping system. Here's a picture of the brand shiny new VFDs. If this is something to get excited about, I don't know what is. And just want to touch on a really exciting project that's currently in design, and that is the replacement of the Wanamaker force main. This is a significant asset in our collection system. It's 4 miles of force main. It handles all of the flow in that Wanamaker corridor. It's 60 years old. We've had a couple of different problems with that over the last few years. It's getting to the end of its useful life, and the consequence of failure on that particular line is significant. So just to sum it all up in terms of where we are, budgeted just right under 52 million in terms of expended and encumbered, just short of 12, with remaining of 39 million. And with that, I will stand for any questions the governing body has.
Thank you. And this is just the very surface of a great deal of information of each of these areas. And so thank you for giving it. This is, I think, very helpful for us to be aware of the areas, the projects that are underway, their questions. Councilman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of years ago, we had an issue at 37th and Fairlawn of some kind of, with the water, that was discussed that we needed that to make sure we could put out fires on Wanamaker. I can't even remember now exactly how that ended up, but I know there was a lot of discouragement that we spend money on that. So can you kind of bring us up to date about that piece there at 37th and Wanamaker, or 37th and Fairlawn, and if that has been done?
I will apologize. I'll have to ask staff about that. That was before my coming back to the city.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I can provide the city manager with the detailed information on that.
Mr. Mayor,
City
Councilwoman,
Manager, you have the answer.
I'll speculate based on what I'm hearing. I think you're probably talking about realigning our water pressure zones so that they work better with the growth of Topeka.
Right.
And as Braxton said, we can get you a better, more thorough update on that. But I'll just say really simply that those projects are underway. They involve relocation of water towers. As you know, we have a water tower that's under design on California for a new pressure zone there. We have one that's under design for Indian Hills for a pressure zone there. So those things are in progress, but it's certainly a long ways from being complete.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Emerson.
Thank you. This is actually for Mr. Peak, if I could let you off the hook here, Braxton. Thank you. And Jason, I'm sorry, I didn't see this, or I would have called you earlier and asked this. But you know, one of the tough things, and I know you've worked a lot on this since you've been here. One of the problems, though, we've been bidding jobs like in 28 jobs that are supposed to be done in 2018. They're bidding in May, March, April, May, June to be done that year. Do you know what the timeline is right now for getting the street projects for 2018 bid?
Yeah, so I mean, as I've stated before, we kind of viewed this as a 3-year process of kind of working through some of those bad habits of compressing schedules, coordination with utilities. I think we're making progress. The projects are on track for early bidding in 2018. I don't have the specifics of each one, but that's been our intent. And like, I think the other example is just like I said, a lot of the projects got bid out earlier this year, allowing ample time for completion of construction. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Jason. And for the reports, we'll proceed then with the roll call.
Mayor Wolgast.
Here.
Council members Hiller. Here. Clear. Here. Ortiz. Here. Emerson.
Here.
De La Isla. Here. Jensen.
Present.
Schwartz. Here. Cohen.
Here.
And Harmon.
There are no additions or deletions to the agenda. We will have 3 executive sessions that you are aware of. Then we proceed to the appointments.
A is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Francis Kent to the City of Topeka ADA Advisory Council for a term ending August 16, 2019. B is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Mary Jo Mastriani to the City of Topeka ADA Advisory Council for a term ending October 2nd, 2019. C is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Marilyn Lynn to the City of Topeka ADA Advisory Council for an unexpired term ending October 1, 2018. D is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Jim Ogle to the Topeka Metropolitan Transit Authority for a term ending September 18, 2021. E is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Andy Vogel to the Topeka Metropolitan Transit Authority for a term ending September 18, 2021. And F is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Bill Persinger to the Shawnee County Community Corrections Advisory Board to fill an unexpired term and a full term expiring January 1, 2020.
Okay, those are the appointments and your pleasure. Councilman Jensen moves to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
Ms. Ortiz? We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the appointments are approved. And I do want to mention, Council, there are 6 appointments here, and again, these are people who volunteer and go through a process and spend a lot of time just getting to this point, or some of that are already served, and I really appreciate their willingness. We have 3 to introduce tonight. Francis Kent, if you would stand, is the new person going on the Topeka ADA Advisory Council. Mary Jo Mastriani is being reappointed to the ADA Advisory Council, and Bill Persinger to the Shawnee County Corrections Advisory Board. As you know, he is a Chief Executive Officer of Vallejo, and we're very pleased to be able to appoint you to the Community Corrections Board. Thank you all for your service and willingness to serve. Thank you. There are other appointees back here. Jim Ogle and Andy Vogel, both to the Metropolitan Transit Authority. Why? 5 out of 6. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for your service. All right, we will proceed then with the consent agenda.
A is approval of a workers' compensation settlement for Richard Knight, Zoo Horticulturalist, in the amount of $26,000 as a full and final settlement for the permanent partial impairment from injuries suffered on January 6, 2016 while performing normal job duties. B is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Jeff Cohen granting Happy Bassett Brewing an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 concerning noise prohibitions. C is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Jeff Cohen granting the Bar and Grill an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at C concerning noise prohibitions. D is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Brendan Jensen granting Daniel Vanderlei an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at C concerning noise prohibitions. E is an ordinance introduced by Interim City Manager Doug Gerber allowing and approving city expenditures for the period of July 1 through July 28, 2017, and enumerating said expenditures therein. F are minutes of the regular meeting of August 8, 2017, and there are 2 cereal malt beverage license applications. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. That is the consent agenda, and your pleasure. Councilwoman Claire recommends approval, moves approval. Councilwoman Schwartz seconds. There's no discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved. Proceed to the action items. The first an ordinance on revenue bonds.
A is an ordinance introduced by Interim City Manager Doug Gerber authorizing the issuance of $17,975,000 aggregate principal amount of combined utility revenue bonds series 2017A of the City of Topeka, Kansas under the authority of KSA 10-1201 at SEEK and all amendment thereto.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Stop me if you've heard this before. We covered something similar to this last week with our general obligation bonds and temporary notes. This week, we're dealing with revenue bonds. I will point out that at your packet, you have an updated ordinance and resolution, or part of an ordinance and part of a resolution for items 6A and 6B. As you recall from last week and your history here, the ordinance spells out the projects, and then the resolution goes into much greater detail about the terms and conditions of the bonds. As is our practice, we held our bond sale this morning, and we had 6 bids, which we were very pleased with. The winning bid was 3.2, which exceeded our pre-bid projections. I say our, Columbia Capital's pre-bid projections, so we're also pleased about that. And with that brief background for you, I would note that from Columbia Capital, we have Kaylin Dwyer and Jeff White in the audience, and then our bond counsel is seated between them. Quite an august group, as I told them earlier, and they're prepared, as am I, to answer questions.
Are there questions on our revenue bonds? Again, great to have 6. Apparently, people are interested in loaning money to Topeka. 6 companies interested. Councilwoman, Deputy Mayor Cohen.
Are we issuing new ones, or are these revised for saving money? Like we've done in the past?
These are new bonds.
They're new? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions, discussion? Councilman Emerson moves to approve the ordinance, approving the revenue bonds. Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. We go to item B, the resolution, taking the next step of the action.
B is a resolution introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber prescribing the form and details of combined utility revenue bond series 2017A of the city of Topeka, Kansas in the aggregate principal amount of $17,975,000, the issuance of which was authorized by the city pursuant to its ordinance passed and approved August 15, 2017, and authorizing certain other documents and actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just 2 other things that I forgot to mention previously, just like I did last week. First is, obviously, the number has changed. In your cover sheet, it's 18 million. In our update, based on the sale this morning, it's 17.9. So a little bit of a difference there. And then I just might point out that these projects are a reflection of the work that's being done by our utility staff. And over the years, they haven't maybe gotten the credit that I think they deserve, but Bob, leading Sylvia and Braxton and the entire staff that they're putting together, getting our assets figured out, what we have. It seems pretty basic, but it's not something we've done, and they're embarking on that huge project. That doesn't relate to this, but just that's a testament to the work they're doing, and that's reflected, I think, in ultimately the good things going on in utilities.
Part of the big picture.
Yes.
Any questions, discussion? Councilman Jensen.
Move to approve.
It's been moved to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the resolution on the revenue bonds is approved. And thank you, Phil, Jeff, and Kaylin. Thank you for your work. Good work. I go to item C, a public hearing and ordinance.
C is a public hearing and an ordinance introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber relating to the vacation of a segment of public alley right-of-way lying between Southwest Mulvane Street and Southwest College Avenue and between Southwest 11th Street and Southwest Munson Avenue within the city of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Finder is sitting down, but I'd like him to come forward and give the body an overview of this issue.
Okay, Mr. Finder.
Thank you. Good evening, governing body. Proposed before you tonight is a vacation of an alley about 150 foot long, 15 feet wide in the Elmhurst neighborhood. This is for Topeka Bible Church, who is looking to expand their parking lot. This is roughly between College and Mulvane and Munson and 11th. And there's been no real issues, so we don't really have any concerns about this. There was a neighborhood information meeting, and no concerns were expressed there. The property owner that is actually south of this is party to this vacation, so they are in complete agreement with the vacation. The only thing we're asking for is a utility easement to be maintained so we can take care of our public sanitary sewer there in the alley. So with that in mind, we do recommend approval from staff.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fyander? Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wasn't that an alley, Bill, or isn't that an alley?
Councilwoman Ortiz, it is an alley. They had previously vacated, or you did, previously vacate about 350 feet of that alley, and now, so this is an extension of another 150 feet. That was, it is an alley right now.
Okay, my question is, and I know there's a church in District 4, New Mount Zion, that would like to do the same thing, and were told that they couldn't because they had to figure out how to bring that street back for the trash trucks, et cetera. So how are they able to do it?
Councilwoman Ortiz, for the previous, that area in yellow, when that was approved, there was a requirement to provide a through access for those service trucks, and so they did grant an easement across their property to go back out to Mulvane or to College. I think it was Mulvane, so there wasn't a dead end situation. In this case, there is no easement required because the remaining length of that alley is less than 150 feet, and so there's nothing. So we don't have a turnaround requirement when it's less than 150 feet. So that is why. So they have. There's no requirement here to have a through or turnaround.
If it's under 150 feet.
If it's under 150 feet, yeah.
Okay, so what about safety then? So will that be blocked off or cut off or shut off? I mean...
Yes, the alley will actually terminate at the end of that red hatching there, and there will be curbing for the parking lot, so there won't be any way to go
all the way through
from the alley. Yeah. Yeah.
And this was approved by the Planning Commission, or did they have to approve it?
It did not go to the Planning Commission. It comes straight to you.
How come?
That's state law and city code. It doesn't have to go to the Planning Commission. That's for any vacation of a right-of-way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was the meeting? Was there any opponents?
There was two people there. They were both supportive, so there was no opposition expressed. And I said the property owner that's adjacent to this is actually signed off on the application, so they are party to this agreement. So they are in agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Mr. Fyander? Councilwoman Clear.
No, but this is my church, so I'd move to approve.
But we're going to have a public hearing. I think because it didn't go to the Planning Commission for a hearing, we have a public hearing here, and as we do for any vacation. So we now declare the hearing open. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item may do so. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. And I recognize Councilwoman Clear.
I would move to approve.
Moves to approve the ordinance.
My district, I'll second.
All right, Councilman Jensen's district, so he will second. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
And yes, the ordinance approving the vacation is approved. We go to item D, a labor agreement.
D is approval of a 3-year labor contract for AFT Kansas Local 6406, effective January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2020.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The body was briefed on this at the last meeting. As read by the clerk, this is a 3-year agreement that starts this January and then runs through December of 2020. It does provide some updates to the pay matrix for the members of this particular bargaining unit, as well as some updates which are spelled out in the AFT contract amendment summary, including updates to union dues deductions, some definition updates, filling of vacancies, sick leave. So just sort of a hodgepodge of updates to the contract with this particular group.
Okay, are there questions for Mr. Gerber on the labor contract? Seeing none, your pleasure. Councilwoman Hiller?
Move to approve.
Moves to approve. Councilwoman DeLisla seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the labor agreement is approved. Go to item E, Consolidated Action Plan.
E is approval of the City of Topeka 2018 Consolidated Annual Action Plan.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you again. As you know, we are required to submit a plan like this to Housing and Urban Development at the federal level every year that outlines how the city plans to spend the funds we receive from them. This plan does just that. We held a public hearing on this item last week and received some comment, and I know you have all received comment, and staff has taken those into consideration. Additionally, we've gotten comments from some of you that we've incorporated into this document, and with that, we would recommend approval. I will note that the true subject matter experts are in the audience if you have any very specific questions.
Okay, are there questions? Councilwoman Claire.
When I read through this, I was trying to figure out what's new. What's new? What's different from last year?
I'll ask Sasha Hahn to come forward and address your question.
Good evening. Councilmember Clear, to answer your questions, there are really no significant changes from the current year or really the year before that.
Okay. Great, thank you.
With the same programs, and funding level might change a bit, but otherwise it's the same program areas.
Our funding levels definitely continue to decrease each year, but with the exception of that, our programming remains the same.
Okay. How much less than last year, do you know offhand?
For the current year, when we were announced our allocation, they reduced us by $67,000 for 2017. That is split pretty equally between home and CDBG funding.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Your pleasure. No, we don't have public comment on this. Councilman Claire.
Move to approve, but there is someone listed.
You have a registered comment.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. We have a person to assigned to speak on this, Teresa Miller. And I didn't see, I looked earlier, I didn't see Teresa here. Okay, so that completes our public comment. Councilman Clear?
Move to approve.
Moves to approve.
And I'll second.
And Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the Consolidated Annual Action Plan is approved. Item F, City Budget.
F is an appropriation ordinance introduced by Interim City Manager Doug Gerber, approving and adopting the operating budget for the calendar year 2018 and appropriating the amounts for the purpose set forth therein.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm not sure what I can add to the budget discussion that hasn't been talked about since January, when we started this process. In my world, there's really kind of 3 seasons, I guess. There's budget season, there's CIP season, and then with $5, there's high school basketball season. So that's kind of what my world revolves around. Hopefully, we will draw to a close tonight with the budget season of our work. Again, we've had a lot of public input, a lot of meetings with the governing body, and the results of that in aggregate are listed on the notice of budget hearing that's on the second page of your packet, and would certainly stand for any questions.
Okay, and I appreciate all the background information here about how everything is computed and the information that goes to both the county and the state. Is there discussion, comments, questions for Mr. Gerber? Councilman Ortiz?
Well, I have a question. What is the funding for the way to work? Is it still at 30,000?
Councilwoman, Mr. Mayor, we're at 50,000 for that.
Okay, and I still didn't understand why we needed the corpse, the AmeriCorps, is that correct? At 4,000? The Job Corps, the kids that come in, that they wanted for 4,000?
That is Sasha's area, so I will ask her to come back forward for that explanation, so she may have a better understanding of that.
So, Councilmember Ortiz, there are two different AmeriCorps programs that we have included in our 2018 budget. We intend to apply for another AmeriCorps team of approximately 8 young people like we have for the last 2 years. They do a variety of work in the community. In this current year, they helped out with some of the community centers. They helped Habitat for Humanity. They also did some surveys in a couple of our NIAs. So they are doing work with the community engagement division. The $4,000 that's dedicated to that group is to pay for their housing. Monique does an excellent job of seeking partners to help assist with those housing costs, and we anticipate that we will have some cost share from our partners for the housing, but as a fail-safe, we've requested those dollars to cover all of their housing costs. The AmeriCorps Vista would give us a full-time person for 3 years for $12,000. That is another body in Monique's office. As I've mentioned in the past, Monique has the responsibility of engaging with approximately 94 neighborhoods, and she has 2 staff people. So we think it's a pretty good deal.
Well, I'm aware of what they do. I just thought they were always free. But they are free, but you're saying we have to pay for the housing that they are in. Is that correct?
So for the team of young people of 8, yes, we pay for their housing costs. The team is free. For the AmeriCorps Vista, we're paying $12,000. That's a small stipend that the Vista actually gets. They have to live at poverty level when they come to the community. So I don't know off the top of my head if AmeriCorps contributes to their salary, but that $12,000 goes to help pay them while they're here.
So actually, is it 12 and 4? Is that what we're looking at in the budget?
Yes, but they're both competitive programs that we will be applying for. So we've asked for those dollars, again, to secure if we're awarded those programs, but it's a competitive process that we go through. We have to apply for those different, the team and then the Vista.
So it's 16,000 is what's in there.
Yes, ma'am, total. If we were to receive both, yes.
So I'm not through, Mr. Mayor, if I may continue. So how did we do this before? You said private entities put them up?
So,
because we didn't have money to put them up before. I mean, we didn't have any money budgeted.
well, Monique actually absorbed it in her budget. And I don't know if the first year, I believe that Monique had about $20,000 in her budget. I believe she has about 30 now, but she's been absorbing the cost. Again, she is excellent at asking our partners like Shawnee County Parks and Rec or Habitat for Humanity to help us cover the costs of housing while they're here, because we do share them with other community organizations that are working on the same types of projects and programs that we have. So we'll definitely be asking, but in the event that they don't have funds available, then we would like to have those funds available to cover their housing costs. Again, we get 8 young people that do a tremendous amount of work in the community.
I understand what they do. They do a lot in my district. I get that. But what I'm trying to do is I will be working on and continue to work on young people that are at the high school level, trying to get 501 to get them to do community service and have so many hours before they graduate, to make them a part of Topeka, to make them a citizen and a proud part, to be a part. And I'd like to do that more, as opposed to reaching out to AmeriCorps. Now, I think they're a great program, don't get me wrong. I think they do a great job. I think Monique's done a great job, but I'd like to see that turned around as well, or us to do maybe more private donations or whatever. They're only here for how long? Just the summer, is that correct?
I want to say 9 weeks, but I might have that.
I think it's
4 months.
So, and I would like, I mean, there's more volunteer hours that we need, and there's more volunteer services that we need. So those are my concerns. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, and Councilwoman, I apologize. I gave some bad information earlier. We've gotten a text update. The Way to Work program is at 30,000 this year. It was at 50. 30,000 next year. It was at 50 this year, and we're projecting to spend 26 for 2017, 26,000. So,
If I may, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm very saddened that we have allowed it to go to that, and we're only thinking that that's how many kids we're going to hire. We have got to turn the income guidelines around, because the problem that we had was it was income-based, and the kids that came and filled out applications, they couldn't pass the drug test. When I think we need to open it to all kids. If we only have 26, is that correct, in our budget?
No.
Councilwoman,
30?
there's, in the 2017 budget, the budget we're under, there's 50,000. We're projecting that we will spend 26,000 for the program.
And 20 what?
In 2017.
But I'm worried about 2018 budget.
30,000.
Yeah. I won't vote on this budget. That's how strong I believe that we need to do something for these kids. We got kids fighting police officers. We got kids out there that need jobs. Out of a $300,000 budget, and we cannot even say yes to 50,000, I won't vote for it. I won't support it.
Okay. Are there other questions or discussion? Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. In my previous life, I had 8 AmeriCorps volunteers in my job, and they can be recruited locally. So this isn't something that we have to bring in kids from other cities. And I do want to say that when we do bring in kids from other cities, and they're here for 4 months, they love Topeka by the time they leave, and they tell their families back home. So I think the AmeriCorps program is an awesome program that we need to continue to strive to do that. The other thing I wanted to say was my first 2 years on this council, I voted against the budget because there was a tax increase in it. And I just want to commend the staff and the council in our endeavors to make the budget so that we didn't raise taxes this year. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Councilman Clare.
The only concern I have is the police budget, and I'm just going to hold those people accountable that told me there's new procedures and will we have more boots on the street next year, and hope I don't have to get angry next budget season.
We hope you don't. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Other questions? Councilman Jensen.
I just want to make a quick comment to all the folks that work tirelessly on the budget. It's not a glamorous job. It's a lot of numbers. You have to tolerate a whole bunch of us with all of our crazy ideas and demands. You guys are a crack team, and you've done a bang-up job. Thank you so much for helping make this much easier for all of us to understand with your expertise.
Okay, Council. Your pleasure. Going to move to approve. Councilman Jensen moves to approve. Councilwoman De La Isla seconds to approve the 2018 operating budget. Any other discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 9 yes, Ms. Ortiz voting no.
9 having voted yes, the City of Topeka 2018 budget is approved. And I also thank the staff, and I know there are other people of agencies and organizations here tonight. I know this is one of the biggest actions of the year, and thank you for all of your participation and working with the city through the process and with the staff. That completes the action items for this evening. I did want to say, I see that Teresa Miller arrived, and you weren't here when we did the Community Block Grant Annual Fund. Did you want to comment? I will give you that. Okay. You weren't here when you had the opportunity to speak. You had signed up to speak on the Consolidated.
I had 2 meetings tonight at the same time, so I came with one and then to this one.
Okay, we'll take your judgment. Thank you. Thank you. We're there. All right, we'll proceed then with the announcements. There is no meeting for the next 2 weeks, so there's no preliminary agenda. We'll go to the announcements. Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Want to bring the body up to speed on a couple personnel additions. We have our new media relations director. As you know, we've had an interim since Allie Van Dyke left. We recently had a panel, and the consensus #1 choice for that panel was Molly Hatfield. She is seated in the front row. She will stand and wave, perhaps, so that everyone can see her. She's here on day 2. Not yet employed, but we're also very excited about having him on board, is our new water system general manager. Bob Sample has been wearing a lot of hats over the last year as we've tried to find a water systems director. He's been interim utilities director. He's been interim water. I think he did he's just done all sorts of duties, but we have a new water manager coming on board, and when he gets here in September, we will definitely get him to this meeting so that you can put a face with a name. And then finally, not really an announcement, but I'll sort of get on my soapbox really quickly and pick up on a comment that Jason Peak made. He talked about, in terms of our scheduling, we have to break some bad habits. Utilities and public works working together is a bad habit that we had to break. And it's by design that we have them present together, because they're not always simpatico, but they are working together and doing things for the benefit of each other. When I first got involved in utilities, it was definitely not that way. Utilities followed around public works and replaced water lines even if we didn't need them to. So it's just definitely a more collaborative effort, and certainly the credit for that goes to Bob and Jason and the staffs they put together. It was just a matter of getting the right team into place, and they've done wonders.
Very good.
I'll also pick up really quickly on a comment Nikki made about our project and budget portals. If you want to take the deepest dive possible into what we're doing, it's right there on our website. All of our portals are out there, and we'll give you all kinds of amazing information. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Harmon, do you have any announcements? Councilwoman Hiller?
Couple short things. First, I can't resist giving Councilwoman Ortiz credit. Maybe we need to consider signage and naming rights for the 7th Street Sylvia Ortiz Memorial turnaround. They have repaved your potholes on 7th Street.
Wait, where's Jason?
It's a really
Where's he at? Jason, what's the word?
Good.
That's not a good thing to ask.
Anyway, congratulations. I'm sure it's because you brought it up.
Thank you, Jason. Somebody hears me. Thank you, Jason.
Other than that, for people that were out and about this weekend, Ciclavia was fun. There were so many kids. It's become very much more kid-focused, at least as I saw it, and it was really fun to see that event start on Friday night with a glow ride and then have the events during the day. Have that day segue into Cruising the Capitol, which was a blowout success. So encourage everybody to, and combined into that was now what I guess may become a routine of Second Saturday with the concert that you could again hear far away from downtown if you weren't there. I took a friend to lunch in Noto today. She's someone who lived and worked in Topeka before, who hadn't been back for a while. She was just blown away to see the developments. And for those of us that have lived with them day after day, it was fun to take her and see it through her eyes as well. Coming up for Labor Day, there'll be the powwow, I assume, as usual. Touch a Truck is coming. Lots of events. So for anybody in the public that's not sure where to find out, certainly always checking with Topeka 365 on the internet will work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Clear.
There's a golf tournament that benefits Sheepdog Impact Assistance. So if you're a golfer, if you just want to support them, that is September 9th at the Cypress Ridge Golf Course. And you can go to 2017 Patriot Day Golf.Eventbrite.
Okay, Councilman Ortiz.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Emerson.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Del Isla.
Thank you, Mayor Wolgast. I wanted to take a few minutes just to make some remarks. We in our country have faced some pretty challenging times recently, and it has been amazing to me to see that even here in Topeka, I've had people approach me and tell me how concerned they are, how fearful they are of what they're seeing nationwide. And I wanted to take a minute just to tell all of you, Topeka is a city of love. Topeka is a city in which we embrace each other in our differences. Topeka is a city that does not stand for hate. Topeka is a city where we all come together. So for all of you who feel concerned, know that there's people who are concerned about you. We're listening, and you have a community that is behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Jensen.
Well, you and Councilwoman Clear have managed to steal both the items on my list this evening. I just wanted to echo your comments and then also echo the comments about Topeka 365. There are lots of things going on in our community. Please get out and enjoy it. It's a wonderful time of year.
Councilman Schwartz. Deputy Mayor Goen.
Nothing this week, Mayor.
Okay, that completes the announcements. We go to public comment. The first is Chance Lammer. And I believe I saw him leave. Then we have Teresa Miller.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I wasn't here earlier. It's a little hard to spread yourself in 2 meetings. I have a big concern for North Topeka. I don't know how many people read Nextdoor. About a month ago, I started putting on Nextdoor, which I don't get on very often, but we had some crimes in my neighborhood. Matter of fact, I stopped one person from breaking a car window out at 4:45 in the morning. The following night, they came and got the kid's car across the street, and it's just like trickling in our neighborhood. And these are bike gangs. These are people coming in all times of day and night, breaking our windows of our cars, just taking whatever they want. And we've reported this to our community officer, and he says, well, there's not much we can do. Well, we don't hardly ever see police officers in our area. I live on the west side of North Topeka, and the problem is I got on Nextdoor to see, I've got almost 100 comments off of one thing I said. And today, if I remember rightly, 10 cars have been busted into this morning over by Herman's Meat Market. So this is an ongoing thing. It's just the whole, I know it's on the west side of North Topeka. I don't know if it's hitting Oakland. They were talking a little bit about it. But we are just getting killed over there. But nothing's being done. We don't see more presence. We actually don't see hardly any officer or cars over there. So we're wanting to know why we're not getting protected over there. Because we don't feel like, if you will read all comments on Nextdoor, we do not feel safe in our homes. We don't feel that we're being protected by our police department. And that's sad because I love our police department. The only thing, and another thing why we bring this up, and I don't mean any disrespect for anybody, but there was a summit last year, or beginning of this year, covered East Topeka, covered Oakland, North Topeka, left out again. So everybody, and I said something to Officer Simmons, why was North Topeka left out? That is part of Councilman Clear's area. Why were we left out? Well, we're working on it. Well, they've moved him to another area, so he won't be working on that. But we want to know why, in North Topeka, why are we being left out? There is more to North Topeka. North Topeka is not just Noto. There is a big area. I love Noto, don't get me wrong, but there's more than just Noto in North Topeka, and we do not feel safe at this time in our homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for your comments, bringing that to our attention. That completes public comment for this evening. The next item is the executive sessions. If the city attorney would state the parameters for the first executive session.
The motion is to recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes for consultation with the city's legal counsel to discuss attorney-client privilege matters as justified by KSA 75-4319, subsection B2. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: members of the governing body, Interim City Manager Doug Gerber, Financial Administrative Services Director Nikki Lee, Chamber of Commerce President Matt Pavarnik, and myself.
Okay, those are the parameters. Councilman Jensen moves to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
I have 10 yes.
10 yes. We will go into executive session when the room is clear. And also, we want to announce that we do not see coming out of the executive session and taking any action as a body tonight. The governing body has come out of the executive session with no action taken. There is a need to continue the discussion for another 20 minutes with the same people involved. If there would be a motion to so do, Councilwoman Clear moves, Councilwoman De La Isla seconds. We go into executive session for an additional 20 minutes. All those in favor raise their right hand. Motion carries. We will go into executive session. The City Council has come out of the executive session with no action taken. There is now a need to have a second executive session if the city attorney would provide the parameters.
The motion is to recess into executive session for a period of 15 minutes for consultation with the city's legal counsel to discuss attorney-client privilege matters related to potential litigation as justified by KSA 75-4319, subsection B2. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: members of the governing body, Interim City Manager Doug Gerber, Public Works Director Jason Peak, Chief of Litigation Shelley Starr, and myself.
Okay, those are the parameters. Councilman Jensen moves to go into executive session on those parameters. Councilwoman Clear seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor raise their right hand. Motion carries. We'll go into executive session for 15 minutes.
Not my problem.
The governing body has come out of the executive session with no action taken. There is a need to continue the discussion for an additional 10 minutes. Sandra Clear moves to go into executive session for 10 minutes. Councilwoman De La Isla seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor raise your right hand.
The parameters?
It will be for the same people continuing who are in the previous executive session. Motion carries. We'll go into executive session for 10 minutes.
All right, Mike.
The City Council has come out of the executive session with no action taken. That completes the second executive session. We're now ready to start on a third executive session. But we have another motion first.
Correct. The motion would be to excuse the city manager from attending this particular executive session, which is in accordance with TMC provisions as well as city council rules.
Councilman Jensen moves that motion, and Councilman Emerson seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Now, if you'll give the parameters for this executive session.
The motion would be to recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes to discuss confidential employment matters pertaining to non-elected personnel as justified by KSA 75-4319, subsection B1. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: members of the governing body, Human Resources Director Jackie Russell, and myself.
Okay, Councilman Jensen moves. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I didn't.
Motion carries. We will go into executive session.
Where you going?
I'm not going anywhere. Door to door.
No, you're doing the ordinance, right?
I told you.
The City Council has come out of the executive session with no action taken. There being no further business before the council, we are adjourned.
Yeah, he was too strong. Yeah, it's too much.
Thank you. Thank you.